Hi guys, welcome back to Flip Side of Normal. I want to apologize about the quality and the lighting of the video and maybe even the volume. It's about 1:30 in the morning here. My family's sleeping downstairs, so I'm upstairs. The lighting's not so great up here and I'm trying to be quiet so I don't wake the house up. Let me jump right into tonight's video. I've said in a couple of my videos that education is key when dealing with anything, any illness, but definitely with bipolar disorder. I really truly believe that a person should educate themselves on any illness they have, be it physical or mental. You can't really help yourself and you can't really begin to recover until you understand what you're struggling with, or what you have. And it goes the same for your support system, parents, family, whatever. They can't help you until they understand what you have. And I mean, they won't understand 100% what it's like living with bipolar disorder, but educating themselves can help a lot to just get the basics. And there's a few ways you can educate yourself. I mean, you can talk to, doctors that you trust. You can do research on the internet. You just have to be careful researching on the internet because not everything you read on the internet's true, despite what my 11-year-old says. So, you just want to check your references on there. I like to stick with things like the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, WebMD, websites like that I know are medically accredited and I can trust the information they're giving me. But my favorite way to educate myself is reading a good old-fashioned book. I sometimes will read on my tablet. There's nothing wrong with it. However, my brain doesn't work right anymore. My memory has gone downhill a lot in the last few years. I have a hard time retaining anything I read. So I find it best if I highlight and make notes in a book that I can go back to later. But the tablets are good too. I've read some books on my tablet. You can highlight on there too. But I'm not tech savvy, so I get frustrated, That's what usually ends up happening. I get frustrated and end up throwing the, tablet or something out the window because it just makes me mad. A book is easy to use. So I thought I'd start doing some book reviews on books that I've read in the past and books that I will read in the future because I'm not done educating myself yet. I don't always read, I'm going to warn you that I don't always read books just about bipolar disorder or the diagnoses that I have. I have to speak with my husband yet about what he wants me to divulge about his personal information, but he too has a mental illness, and I read books on his mental illness so that I can help him. I read books on other mental illnesses and physical illnesses that people, like my daughter, my 11-year-old has autism and a whole plethora of diagnoses that I will get into in another video. So I read books on that too because, just for the same reason that I recommend people read these books about bipolar disorder. I want to help them. So I thought I'd start with a book that I got right after my diagnosis, one of my first books. I honestly bought this book for my husband and my mom to read because they are like my biggest, like they're my first line of defense when I'm in a bipolar episode. They're really the two that deal with me the most. I mean, other than my children who are too young to understand and read these books yet. So I wanted to help them be able to help me. And so I bought this book. But before I gave it to them, I wanted to read it to make sure it was worth giving to them. And what I found was this book that I'm about to show you and talk to you about is not only written for what they call the caretakers of the zinc. That's my cat. It's not only written for the caretakers of the people afflicted with bipolar disorder, but it honestly helped me a lot too, especially because I was just diagnosed. I didn't quite have a complete understanding of my illness. And this, hey, stop. Sorry, he was attacking dance costumes and that can't be. I told you he's a butthead. He's just a butthead. But, So what I found, anyway, what I was saying is, what I found is that this book is very helpful both for the patient and the caretakers. And that's how I'm going to kind of refer back and forth between the person with bipolar disorder and the ones taking care of them, because it's a lot easier. So if I offend anybody by using those words, I'm sorry, I don't mean any offense by it. It's just easier for me to decipher. Okay, so let me get started. The book is called Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder. It's to help you understand and help your partner. It's written by Julie Fast and John Preston, and as you can see right here, this guy, he's a psychologist, so he's educated on this. He's specially trained in it. When I'm picking out my books, that's kind of one of the first things I look for, is the authors. Who are the authors? Are they just some person, that felt they could write a book about bipolar disorder? Or are they someone who has had experience with it? And so that's the first thing I kind of do. I kind of either read the back cover, or wherever they give the info about the author. If I can't find any information about the authors on the book jacket, then I go to Google and I kind of look them up and I see who they are, where they came from, and what gives them the right to write a book, or why they felt they could write a book on this. Just because you don't want to read a book by Donald Trump on bipolar disorder, just like you don't want to read a book by Hillary Clinton on how to get rich. So that's kind of one of the first things I look at. I'm not saying that books written by non-physicians are bad, because they're not. I mean, I think you can learn a lot from books written in the first person from somebody experiencing bipolar disorder. I haven't yet read one, but I will be reading one soon, as I got one for my birthday for my stepdaughter. So it'll be interesting for me to see. I'm really excited to start reading it, actually. But this book, it's very well written and easy to read, which is unusual, and it's a hard thing to find because a lot of these type of books about illnesses and stuff like that, they can be written in medical jargon and gobbledygook that can leave you rocking back and forth in a corner somewhere, wondering what you've just read because you don't understand any of it. But this book is not like that at all. Like I said, it's written in layman's terms, very easy to understand. And what's great about it is for everything they talk about, they provide examples of too. So it can help you understand even more. And usually their examples are dead on of what I'm feeling or what things I've done or said or stuff like that. So, but what this book is it's kind of like a workbook to help you because, bipolar disorder, the thing about it is it plays hell on any type of relationship, not just marriages, not just love relationships, but it can play hell on friendships. It can play hell on family kinships. And this book is sort of a workbook to help you not only help yourself if you're the patient, or to help the patient if you're the caretaker, but it also is to kind of help you get your relationship fixed too. I mean, like it's not a cure and it's not a 100% for sure thing, but that's kind of what it's for. It gives you exercises to do. And here's the thing. I mean, if you're serious about helping the patient or helping yourself, or if you're serious about getting, the damaged relationship back to a healthy relationship, you have to be very open-minded. And you have to be willing to try new things, even if they sound silly. Like one of the first things that you read in this book is they tell you to journal. And I know that for guys, journaling is kind of like, that's a girl thing. I don't keep diaries. But honestly, journals is like one of the main tools that I could ever recommend for both the patient and the caretaker. Journals are great things, because number one, a journal is a great release. Because let's face it, we can't always say every thought that comes into our head. Why? One, we'd never shut up. And two, it could hurt a lot of people's feelings and start a lot of trouble. But it's not good to keep things in either. So how do you get it out of your head but not hurt anybody's feelings or not cause any problems? Get a journal. You know, that it's a personal book. You know, I mean, put it in a personal place. If you have to hide it, hide it. I mean, I would hope you wouldn't have to hide it. Like with me and my husband, I mean, we have our journals and he keeps his and I keep mine. I don't ever go in his and he don't ever go in mine unless it's like, hey, look what I wrote, you know. But you can hide it, you know. I mean, girls do with their diaries. Teenage girls do with their diaries all the time. You know, the other thing with journaling is that it can help you to learn the triggers that can trigger episodes of bipolar disorder. And that's not only important for the patient to know. I mean, of course, we have to know our triggers because, you know, we have to know what sets us off so we can try to avoid them. But it's also important for our caretakers to know too because, like, I don't know if I've said it, but you are our first line of defense. You know, like my husband, he lives with me. He's here with me. So if, let's say, one of my triggers is, you know, people just randomly stopping by my house, you know, and he gets a phone call from his dad that says he's 15 minutes down the road and he's going to stop by. My husband knows that's one of my triggers. If he's journaled and he's been paying attention, he knows it's one of my triggers. And then he can kind of jump in and try to prevent his dad from just stopping by to not trigger me. And I know that's something stupid, but it's just a simple example. But do you know what I mean? If my caretakers know my triggers, then they can help me prevent going into an episode because they can help me to avoid them. Now, as I've said before, avoiding triggers is not always possible. You know, stress, things like that. I mean, that's stuff you can't avoid unless you're dead. So you can't always avoid them. But, you know, if you know the triggers, then you can learn how to help. You know, if stress is a trigger, then you learn how to help ease stress. You know, if the kids stress me out and you see I'm starting to get stressed out because the kids just aren't listening, then my husband can jump in. And, you know, I don't want her to have another episode, so I'm going to have to jump in and I'm going to have to take over and help her out, you know, get the kids under control. You know, things like that. The other thing is just like that it can identify triggers. Journaling can help you identify things that help, you know, either prevent me from going into an episode or get me out of an episode or help keep me calm and things like that. So not only can it help you, you know, identify what sets me off, but it can also help identify what helps me too and what keeps me sane and stable. You know, a journal, I mean, most people think of a journal as just a place to go in and bitch, you know, and whine and moan and groan about life and the people in your life. But that's not always true. You know, a journal is a record book. I mean, if you think about it, you can write about the positive stuff too and the negatives because, you know, then when you get in a negative mood, you can always go back and reflect and say, you know, it's really not that bad, you know? And so it's good to have as a record keeper to help you reflect and go, you know, I can be good. You know, I mean, like, you know, because sometimes when we're in our bipolar episodes, we start feeling really bad about ourselves. And if we reflect, though, back and we say, you know what, I can come out of this. I've been here before. I've been worse before. I can come out of this. I can be on top again. You know, here's how I did it last time. Let's try it again. You know, things like that. The other thing is, like I said about the release, is you write it and you forget it. You know, in life, as a parent, as a wife or a husband, as a you know, anything, we have to learn what we should fight about or argue about. We have to pick our battles, okay? And when you write in a journal, you know, when you're angry, you can go in and you can write it right away. You know, I'm so mad, blah, 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 blah. But then when you calm down, you can go back and you can read it and say, is this something worth me bringing up, possibly starting an argument, maybe hurting somebody's feelings? Or is it something so minor that I've written it down, I've got it out of my system, I feel better, can I just let it go? You know? So it's good. You know, it just journaling is good all around. The other thing that this book does is, I think it's chapter 3. Yes, it's chapter 3. Chapter 3 is called Multipolar Disorder. And it's really weird because because people think, when they think of bipolar disorder, they think of mania and they think of depression. And that's not all bipolar disorder is. I mean, yeah, we do have our ups and downs, but we have in betweens too. There's different levels of mania. There's, let's see, what does it say? There's full blown mania. There's hypomania. There's different levels of the depression. There's cyclothymia. And what it is it's like you can be seen as moody, but not severely moody. Just kind of like your normal moodiness. But and it can occur for a long time, and you not even know that you have this illness. But eventually, your moods do start to worsen, and that's when you get diagnosed. A lot of people don't know that there's two types of bipolar disorder: bipolar disorder 1 and bipolar disorder 2. I happen to be bipolar disorder number 2. So, but not many people know that, And chapter 3 is a great chapter because it goes through, I don't know if you can see this, but do you see here how it breaks everything down for you? It describes bipolar 1. It describes bipolar 2, cyclothymia. It describes all of it, But as you can see, they're not very big sections. Do you know why? Because it is very well and easily written, like I've said. It describes it without getting into all the mumbo jumbo, how the brain works, the chemicals, this and that, the medical terminology. It's completely written. Like, for instance, for like the bipolar 2, it says things like people have bipolar 2 have a very high frequency of major depressive episodes. That's me. I have more depression than I have severe mania. It also says that the other primary feature of bipolar 2 is the absence of full-blown manias, which, like I just said, I don't really have full-blown mania. I can every once in a while. I usually have hypomania. And what hypomania is let me make sure I get this right because I don't want to get it wrong. Hypomania is a heightened sense of well-being and a decreased need for sleep, but you're not tired. So you have the insomnia, but you don't have the daytime fatigue to go along with it, which that's me. I can go 2-3 hours of sleep at night, and I'm good to go the next day when I'm hypomanic. But it causes impaired judgment, but it's not as serious as in the full-blown mania. It's still, you still have that. When you're hypomanic, you still have that little bit of, this is kind of dangerous, so maybe I shouldn't do it. Whereas when you're full-blown manic, that goes out the window. I mean, it just completely goes out the window. You have no regard for your safety. You have no regard for anything. You don't even think before you do things. You just do them. With the hypomania, it's you sort of think. But anyway, it just, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. It's like very easily written and easy to understand. Very short and to the point, but you get it. The other great things is that it gives you, like I said, examples of things. Like right here, it gives you some of the samples of bipolar disorder so that, you can kind of sort of understand. And like, as you can see, I've highlighted some stuff, some down here in the symptoms, and those are my symptoms that I have, and it helps me kind of learn what I am. The other great thing about this book is that while it's written by a psychologist and it's very explanatory and in detailed about the disorder itself, it also has excerpts from somebody who's personally struggling with bipolar disorder, which I'm assuming is this Julie Fast, but I don't know for sure. But like here in the intense anger and irritability section, that's me, as you can see. Yeah, that's very much me. But down here at the bottom, it has like a little excerpt at the end that and this is how it's written. It says, "Sometimes my anger is so strong, I feel like I'm going to explode. It feels so good to hit something or yell and start a fight. It's a release from all of the pressure inside. It doesn't even feel wrong at the time. It feels like something I have to do. So up above it is kind of the doctor explaining what the intense anger and irritability is all about. And then you have that little tidbit of information that you can read, and like your caretakers are reading that, and they're kind of getting an insight on how you feel, because we can't always say how we feel. But let's see. Like I said, it's a workbook, of sorts, and you want to take your time with this book. This book isn't something that you just want to read in a day. You really want to take your time with it. Let's see, so I'm reading notes that I have written down about it that I wanted to tell you. The first 3 chapters of the book are very informational. Like I said, it helps you to better understand what the patient goes through, or you as the patient goes through. It helps you to see it better. Chapter 13, it's very eye-opening and very informative. It's called The Hard Truths About Bipolar Disorder. And it kind of just puts the reality in your face, It kind of tells you that this isn't going away. There's no cure for bipolar disorder. But it kind of tells you how to accept it and how to move on, and how to deal with it. So, chapter 13 is very good. But I just like this book all around. It helped a lot. My husband went through and he read it. And he even highlighted some of his own stuff about things, that he noticed about me and stuff like that. And it helped us a lot, and it helped him a lot, because he became, when I was first diagnosed, he was very, there's nothing wrong with you, it's this, it's that. But then he read this book and he started to understand it better. And, now he's probably the most supportive person other than my parents. I couldn't ask for a better life partner to help me out through this. He doesn't get mad at me for even when I'm in an episode. He's not always happy with me, if I'm running around breaking things or screaming my bloody head off like a psychotic. But he doesn't get mad at me. He understands that I can't control it. He understands that it's part of an illness that I have. He understands I didn't ask to be born with this. I just was, and that there's nothing I can do about it. This is me. It really helped him to accept it and to help me. So I highly recommend this book. I don't know if there's a newer version out of it, a newer edition or not. And like I said, it is 12 years old, but the great thing about it is it still applies today. I reread it before doing this review, and it's still dead on. So I highly recommend getting this book if you're the patient or the caretaker. And you could be like me. If you're the patient, get it for somebody who is your caretaker. Will they read it? Not necessarily, but it's there. And if they love you and they care about you and they really truly are wanting to help you, then they will. It's that simple. So I've said all I had to say about this book. If you have any questions about it, any other questions of something I didn't go over, or you want me to explain something else, please contact me. I've started a Facebook page now. It's the same name as my YouTube channel, so you can find me at facebook.com/flipsideofnormal. It's still in its infancy stages. I just started it, but I plan to be very interactive with it. All my videos are going to go there. You can private message me there, find me there, and everything. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I'm not looking to become famous. I'm not looking to be YouTube, Facebook famous. I'm not even looking to go viral. All I'm doing is looking to help somebody. If it's one person, if it's 50 people, great. I don't care as long as I help somebody. And my videos and my content may not be something that's of interest to you, but share it anyway, because I guarantee at least 5 people on your friends list are suffering with bipolar disorder or some other kind of mental illness. You could save somebody's life just by letting them know that there's somebody else out there, because isolation is the worst feeling in the world. And with the way that society treats mental illness, you feel isolated as soon as you get a mental illness diagnosis. I know. And it sucks. The best thing, though, is finding out that there are other people like you and you're not alone. So share. Please share and promote my channel. It's going to get better. I'm learning. I'm still learning. I haven't had much feedback from anybody giving me criticisms or what they want to hear, what they don't want to hear. Subjects. I mean, I'm open to anything. If there's something you want me to talk about, please tell me, and I'll talk about it if I have knowledge of it. If you have a question, please ask me, because I eventually want to do a Q&A video. I've got a list of questions that I've been asked in the past by people that I want to, go over, but I would love, I love to talk to you. So if there's something you want to know, if there's something you want me to talk about, please tell me. If there's something that I'm doing you don't like, tell me that too, because if you don't tell me, it's not going to change. So I'm trying to think of cool ways to do videos, but I haven't got that creative yet. So Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder. Good book. I recommend that you read it. I recommend even if you're the patient or the caretaker, you read this book. Be open-minded. Be willing to try new things. It does work. It will work, and it will help, even if a little bit. So until next time, peace.